Oh my goodness, I'm back! So it has been a long time since I've done a video, and I'm so sorry. Just life happened and things got crazy and yeah, but I am back.
I'm back.
So today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is freelancing. I have been a freelancer for a long time, probably like 6 years, maybe a little bit more. And I wouldn't say that whole time I was full-time. I've probably been full-time now since maybe 4 years, I guess, maybe a little bit longer than that. And I had posted something on my Instagram page and got a lot of questions regarding freelancing, regarding my ghostwriting, and just kind of like how that all works together. And I decided to do 2 videos. So this first one is going to be specifically about freelancing, how I got started as a freelancer, the platform I use for freelancing, also about pricing, those types of things. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a fun video. And the other part of that is that the next video will be about ghostwriting specifically. We're going to talk about some interesting stuff. So I'm excited for that one too. So make sure you check back in soon for that. But without further ado, let us begin. So I got a lot of questions regarding freelancing in general, and there are many different types of freelancing. I am a freelance writer, I'm a freelance ghostwriter, and I am also a freelance photographer. So that's kind of like, well, I'm also a freelance graphic designer. So there are a lot of things that I do freelancingly. And we'll specifically focus on the writing aspect of it. If you guys are interested in a video about freelance photography or freelance graphic design, comment below and let me know, and I will definitely make that video if there's interest in it. But specifically we'll talk about freelance writing because that's what I was talking about on my page. So I began way back when in the year, I don't even know, honestly, maybe 2011, I don't know. Bad with math, so that's the thing. So the platform I use today is called Upwork. So I put that in my Instagram stories, and people were curious about like what Upwork is and how you get started on it and those types of things. So I started when Upwork was called Elance, and that was, like I said, a long time ago. And I began with them really honestly having no idea what I wanted to do. And just thinking I could do this. I think a lot of the things that I do in my life now started with me saying I could do that. And so really with that, I signed up, I got an account, which you can now do through Upwork also. This video is not sponsored, by the way. Previously I had shared a link because it was like you could sign up for a certain deal or whatever. That's not why I'm doing this. I'm just doing it because people were interested. But yeah, so I signed up on Elance, now Upwork, and basically was like, okay, what can I apply for and what will I get? I think that that's kind of like, some people had asked like, how do you start? Honestly, that's how I started. I think that it's not a bad way to begin, but I wanted to make a little extra income. I guess they call it now a side hustle. And I thought, okay, I write, I could probably do writing and maybe I could get paid for it, because I had been blogging for years before that and had been, interested in writing since before that time. So I signed up and I started looking around for the different kind of jobs. Basically, they have like a listing of things that show kind of like, oh, we're looking for this type of person to do this job, write about this thing, and we'll pay them this, or maybe like this pay range or something. And so a lot of the times I like had no idea, but I just thought I could probably do that. And I would just like send in a proposal. So that meant doing some very interesting things. Okay, so I like wrote my bio to be like, okay, this is what I have done. By that time I had worked with critique partners, so I had edited to the extent that you know, someone's shared with me their work and I was able to go through and make adjustments on things. I knew from the start that I was not going to be a like a line editor, but I feel like I did have strengths in recognizing content. So I could see a plot arc that I was like, oh yeah, this is really good, or I could see, oh, this is weak. I'm not feeling the tension here, or we really need more motivation for these characters. We need this, we need that, etc. So I felt like confident in saying like that was my strength, so I could edit like a content editor, but I wouldn't do like line editing. So I kind of made sure that I put that in my bio, and I talked about like what I had written for, that I had written several books because I'd done NaNoWriMo for so many years, just like things that, you know, this is who I am, this is my qualification. So first and foremost, I would say one is to have a bio that is fleshed out and really fits who you are honestly, and will give your potential clients a view into like who you are. Then secondly, which I think was also important, I remember one of the first jobs that I got was with this guy who was putting together a kind of team of people to flesh out a plot basically for a book that he wanted to write. I believe it was a young adult, actually. This is so many years ago that I don't even remember. But it was a young adult novel, and it was definitely like fantasy. And he wanted basically this like small team of people to kind of talk it through to make sure that it was going to be a legit idea that he could write and feel confident in. I submitted a proposal to them. So in that, I think that that's like the next most important thing. So make sure your bio and your About Me page is really fleshed out, and then also have like a really well thought out proposal. If this is really a job that you're interested in, you're gonna put your best foot forward. I pulled together the best that I could with what they were asking for. They'll give you a blurb that said this is what the job is about. So I explained in that proposal, this is the way that I would work through, you know, what you're looking for. And basically the thing that the guy who eventually hired me said that drew him out, I mentioned specifics about how I would look into the characters and how I would formulate or make sure that the plot was formulated well and structured well. And I used specific things. And he said that that's what really drew him to me, is that I showed that I knew what I was talking about, basically. So he hired me. So that was kind of like my first experience, but I think those are two things to like really make sure you do well, is make sure your about me page is like really well done, and then make sure your proposals are well thought out. And also a little, I guess, hack could be, I started to save a little bit of like portions of the proposals that I had. So in some of them, it would just be like at the end, I would always say, I'm a hard worker, I'm gonna keep our work confidential, and I am going to do my absolute best to make sure that you as my client are happy. And I like wanted to have that as kind of like the core of who I was and how I work. So I included that in almost every proposal that I sent off. Sorry guys, this is gonna be a long video. So that was a really long introduction, but that is how I got started on Upwork, and kind of how, in a circuitous route, I got to where I am today. Another question I got was, how hard is it to start freelancing? My advice would be start when you can afford to start. And what I mean by that is, I was in a position where I was getting a paycheck, and I was also freelancing as a photographer too, so I had that going on the side, and the writing was just kind of like, I want to try my hand at this. I want to see if I can actually do it. And so as I started to do that, I was able to see, okay, this is working. And then there were other times where I'm like, oh, this takes so much time. And like I wrote for a medical blog for a while. There was a lot of content that I had to create based on research, and if you're not getting paid for that research because you're only getting paid per word, you don't want to spend a lot of time on it, because then it's not really worth your time. I kind of learned that way. So basically I was able to see like, this kind of writing is worth it for me, this is not. This kind of writing I enjoy, this I do not. It can be challenging to start, especially if you don't have any kind of background. If you've never freelanced before, I would suggest going ahead and signing up for Upwork or another platform. Like it doesn't have to be Upwork, but sign up for a platform that you've researched and that you feel confident in. So if you're at the point where you have no experience and you want to grow that experience, then yeah, join whatever freelance site you want and look around for jobs that you feel confident that you could do, or that you could learn how to do quickly. Make sure that the jobs that you're taking are building your experience, and that you can maybe afford to lose a little bit of time, you know, and I mean lose time in the sense of like not getting paid as much as you'd like to, just for the experience. But notice when that time has passed. Once you've gained the experience that you need, then start honestly looking at yourself and assessing, okay, how much can I charge? And that goes into another question I got, was pricing. How does pricing work? That's a very delicate situation, because it's gonna vary based on where you're getting paid from. So if it's through a company like Upwork, or if it's through like PayPal on your own, you know, you're running your own business, it's going to vary on the experience that you have and what your client is willing to pay, and also what you're willing to accept. I have done jobs that I look back and think I should have charged more. And that's a bummer, because you're kind of like, I already committed to this. So for example, someone had asked about editing. Upwork does hire editors as well. For them, you can look at an editor who has 10 years experience versus an editor who has 6 months of experience or no experience. You're gonna have different prices. What I've suggested to friends who are interested in getting into editing is to start off at a price point that allows you to learn. If you can't say you have any editing experience, then you're not going to get it if you are charging a ton. So that may look like editing friends' papers, editing friends' manuscripts for free to an extent, and then using that as a reference, and then finding a client who's willing to pay you maybe a discounted rate for a certain amount of time, so that you can get true, you know, paid experience to then move you to the next level. And you're gonna be able to tell this by the amount of time that you have. If you're, you know, maybe you've been editing for a year and you start to notice, wow, I've got a lot of clients, then it's time for you to raise your prices. So hopefully this has given you a look into what it's like to freelance, to be a freelance writer, and given you some of my story. Maybe I've created more questions than answers in this video, so if you do have questions, please put them below. If need be, I will do a follow-up to this video. So I will be coming back with a new video about ghostwriting, my experiences with it, what it is, why I do it, am I okay with it, all of those things and more soon. But yeah, so I hope to see you back on my channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Come over and visit me on Instagram. I post photos every day, and they're all about books, of course, because that's what I love. And I would just love to hear from you too. So comment below if you've learned something new, if you have another question. I want to hear from you. Thank you so much. I don't remember what I say at the end. Let's be friends and let's talk about books. Is that it? I can't remember. Freelancers. Freelancingers. Those types of it is what it is, but maybe I won't put that in here. So I plopped that in. Plopped? What a terrible word. I'm a writer, yeah. I put that in. I'm reading The Maze Runner right now, and like all I can think of is clunk.